Welcome to the April 23rd meeting of the Anacortes Planning Commission. Ms. Gleichman, would you please take roll?
Commissioner Mills, Commissioner McCombs.
Here.
Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Stoneman.
Here.
Commissioner Dresky.
Here.
And Commissioner Courier.
Here.
I move that Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Mills be excused.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to excuse Commissioners Ryan and Mills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, they are excused. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 3 are the minutes for November 6th, 2024. Are there any corrections or a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of November 6th, 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 4 is public comment. This is a time when anybody in the audience would be welcome to come up. You come up to the podium, state your name, state your city where you live, and we will give you 3 minutes to talk to us about anything you would like. I would suggest that this is about something not on the agenda. If you would like to talk about something on the agenda, we have a public hearing, the next thing. So first, if you have anything you'd like to talk to us about not on the agenda, you're welcome to come on up. Anybody online?
No.
No. Okay, so I'm going to close the public comments section and move to item number 5, public hearing. This is a public hearing for the 2025 Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update, proposed amendments to the goals and policies of the climate and the environment and conservation elements of the comprehensive plan. And it looks like we have Ms. Grage to set this up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I just have a really brief introduction before we open up the public hearing, just to bring everybody up to speed on where we're at. So I had a suggested order for tonight's public hearing, and my suggestion was to have staff do a quick introduction. So me and then Katie Saunders from Makers is also attending virtually, and she'll give a just brief overview of the changes that have been made to the climate element goals and policies based on the Commission's feedback at the last meeting. And then we could open the public hearing and close the public hearing, and then I have a schedule update to provide on the overall comprehensive plan update process. So just a very quick history of the Planning Commission's review of the climate and environment and conservation elements of the comprehensive plan. At the March 26, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, Katie Saunders gave a presentation introducing the climate element and talking a lot about, the state law that mandates that we have a climate element and what's included in that element, and sort of the process and analysis that's led up to the draft goals and policies that have been presented. And that is all accessible online. There's a link to that meeting if anybody is interested in watching that presentation. It's very informative and gives a good background. In March, at the last meeting on April 9th, 2025, the Planning Commission reviewed the draft goals and policies for the climate element and the environment and conservation element. And then tonight, of course, we have the public hearing on the environment and conservation and climate element goals and policies. So the next steps after this public hearing are to review all of the feedback that we've gotten from members of the public and the Planning Commission, and to make updates to the goals and the draft goals and policies as appropriate, and then also complete updates to the background information of each of those elements, so the supporting analysis and existing conditions information that goes along with the goals and policies. And then that will be compiled for all of the elements, so environment conservation, climate, and then all of the others that we've already talked about, land use, transportation, housing, all of those, and combined into an updated integrated draft comprehensive plan, so the full document that will then be released for additional public review and comment and public hearings. So in your packet, you have some updated goal and policy trackers, both for the climate element, goals and policies, and the environment and conservation element. There wasn't a lot to add on the environment and conservation element, so I'm not going to talk about that a lot. But I will, at this point, just hand it over to Katie Saunders with Makers Architecture and Urban Design, so that she can give you a quick overview of the updates on the climate element goals and policies.
Thanks, Libby. Is my sound coming through okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Pleased to be here talking with you tonight. Libby, did you want to screen share the document, or did you want me to do that?
I can do that. Just give me a minute here. Would you like the tracker or the
I think the tracker where we're showing the blue changes would be most clear. Yeah, perfect. And I'll just walk through, and I'll just touch on the ones where we made changes and just provide background on why we made changes. But by and large, our effort was really just to respond to the conversation and the discussion we had with the Planning Commission and respond to some of that feedback. For CE1, the change there is a relatively simple one. Just we changed the kind of intro wording. Instead of climate change leadership, we focused on kind of build local capacity. The goal statement there was really intended to, the idea around climate being a regional leader came from an existing policy. And so we thought that was valuable and advanced that to a goal statement through working with the climate team, but did hear from a planning commission, a little bit concerned about this leadership. So we just changed the wording of that introduction. Otherwise, we left the goal statement as is. So it wasn't a really substantive change, just sort of the focus of what the first words are shown there. Libby, do you want me to stop with each of these or just go through and then we can have a discussion? I'll just keep moving. CE 1.1, there was a comment on, and in general, kind of removing repeated language. The guiding principles are going to was recommended as an introduction to what is volume 1 or will be volume 1 of the climate element. So we didn't feel it was need to highlight that. So we just removed that call out to them, knowing that they will be kind of introducing the goals and policies for the climate element in that volume 1. Now moving down to 2.1, this was another just text edit to kind of reduce repeated language and be more efficient. It wasn't a substantive change there, but just getting to the point a little faster. CE 3.1, this is another more sort of text edit. Protect was a suggestion to remove enhance. Enhance can have specific meanings, but by and large, protecting and restoring. covers a lot of bases there. So there was a suggestion to just remove that from the Plan Commission based on just an effort to be a little more succinct with language. CE 4.1, again, another similar text edit, just to clarify future climate change impacts and sea level rise being one of those. So just sort of a minor text edit there. CE 4.4, there was helpful feedback on kind of why we were bringing two pieces together in here, talking about not only about protection for riparian vegetation, but also wildfire. And given that there was a section on wildfire kind of goals and policies supporting that right after this, we looked at that again and thought, maybe we can move that over. So we've suggested removing it from this statement here in 4.4. And then we've added a statement on 5.4 where we're talking about increasing community awareness and wildfire protection plans. So I'll just read the revised statement. Increase community awareness of local wildfire hazards and collaborate with property owners in high-risk areas when developing a community wildfire prevention plan, and coordinate on the need to protect structures adjacent to forested areas from wildfire danger as required by state wildland urban interface regulations with public open space regulations. So just some text revisions there. CE6, we focus on coordination with utilities. I think there was a repetition in talking about energy resilience. So this is just to clarify the two different times we had similar language. So this was a clarification to introduce that by coordination with utilities. And there was some question around the specificity of including generation, transmission, and storage. So we removed that specificity there, but otherwise kept the statement as is. CE7, another similar one, just sort of removing a statement of being a little bit specific there, but in general, covering that. So the revised statement is promote renewable energy, encourage conservation and efficiency technologies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from buildings. And I believe that is the last one. And we highlighted in blue the text edits. We also made just some minor, just very, very minor text edits, in a few different places, but very, very minor. Didn't flag those. The other thing that we do that you might recognize from the other tracker is that the column, the minimum requirements column, or we updated the CE number, used to have some additional information about which element it referred to, but that was a little confusing with the minimum requirement, which really shows kind of which minimum requirement per each sub-element it's referring to or meeting. So we removed that kind of confusing. It was getting at the co-benefits that Commerce has identified for some of these. So each policy statement is kind of dedicated to a specific element, but it can have co-benefits for resilience. So when you're talking about greenhouse gas reduction, or when you're talking about wildfire protection, or you can have co-benefits for another piece. So that was why it was in that CE number column originally, but we felt that was confusing, so we just simplified for this draft. And I think those are all of the changes. Libby, anything else you want me to highlight there?
No, I think that's good. Thank you very much, Katie. And Katie is going to stick around in case there are any questions on these. Okay, so the next item is the public hearing.
Okay, let me get my papers in order here. I was comparing the last meeting with this meeting, and I think we didn't really make it all the way through. At least according to my notes, we didn't really make it all the way through the climate element at the last meeting. I remember saying Section 8 is one that I think we really need to look at all of it. And but we can have our public hearing first for sure. So at this time, any member of the public is welcome to come up. And if you would like to speak about something in the draft climate element or the environment and conservation element, You're welcome to come up, state your name, to state your city, and you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Suzanne Roner from Anacortes, and it's my understanding that there is another element that is being changed, CE8, so my remarks also include that. So I'm here to oppose the changes, specific changes to this plan, adding the word storage to goal CE6 and adding the words battery storage to CE8 can have a devastating consequence for Anacortes. This is a Trojan horse. I urge you to contact the Sedro-Woolley City Council and Mayor if you want to get more information on what happens when FSEC shows up and wants to put a battery storage on agricultural land. Please contact them before you make any decisions on these changes. The Inflation Reduction Act was signed into law in August of 2022 and has had a significant impact on the adoption and expansion of battery energy storage systems, also known as BESS. It introduced several key provisions that directly benefit utility-scale energy storage projects. Prior to the Inflation Reduction Act, energy storage systems were only eligible for investment tax credit if they were paired with solar energy systems. The Act removed this requirement, allowing standalone systems with a minimum capacity of 5 kilowatt hours to qualify for the tax credit. The Act also increased the tax credit to 30% and extended its availability to 2032. So this is why you are going to be inundated with requests to have these battery storage systems in Anacortes. There's money involved, and please don't do it. Energy storage systems collect energy from the grid and discharge that energy at a later time. It does not generate energy. These systems are being forced into communities across Washington despite the many concerns about safety, cost, reliability, environmental and ethical concerns, supply chain and resource constraints, policy and regulatory uncertainty. BESS facilities can catch fire and trigger a chemical reaction known as thermal runaway. These fires cannot be extinguished with water, and the usual remedy is to let the fire burn itself out. A fire down in San Diego in May of 2024 took 17 days before it stopped. Utility-scale BESS projects require tens to hundreds of millions of dollars in investment. Profits often rely on energy arbitrage, which means buy low, sell high, and grid services like frequency regulation, which can be volatile and policy dependent. Performance degradation over time means systems may need significant reinvestment well before typical 20 or 30-year lifespan of the other grid infrastructure. BESS is not a long-duration solution. Most battery systems today provide only 1 to 4 hours of storage, insufficient for prolonged outages or seasonal storage needs.
Ma'am?
BESS can't replace base load. It can increase complexity to the energy grid.
Thank you.
I got to get to the end here. There's also concerns about environmental impact of the mining of these minerals. And the most important thing is that many utility BESS, I'm sorry, the time goes.
Your time is up.
I am, okay, I apologize. This is the important part. Many utility-scale BESS projects rely on government incentives or favorable energy policies, which can change and which have changed if you paid attention to what's going on in DC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to speak?
Hello, my name is Mark Neihart. I am from Anacortes. I grew up here. So my issues are more general. I'm not sure if the comprehensive plan adequately takes care of water, which is going to be either scarce or overabundant in the sense that the Skagit River is not flowing at the rates that it used to. And any projections of how that water is going to flow in the future need to be made not on past data, but on data relatively recently. And then I'm wondering if the plan adequately does mitigate what we could do as residents, such as gray water use, rain catchment systems, rain gardens. These would be retrofitted to people that already have gutter systems that flow directly into the stormwater system. And then if the treatment plant on the Skagit is going to be hardened in this plan, we almost lost it at the last flood. It almost overtopped. If it went over top, it would be months before it could be fixed. Is there any money or there is any plan for hardening up infrastructure to support water, either as trying to make it more available when it's scarce, and any opportunities to work with the county or our water customers? And this one kind of goes a little bit outside, but it doesn't. We share Fidalgo Bay, and we share the air with the refineries. The refineries are not necessarily in our plan, they're in the Skagit plan, but apparently our comp plan has some impact on them. If you look at that white stuff that's blowing up all the time over the refineries, that's water. And I think we should work with the refineries or require them to recycle some of that water. They use 50%. 50% of Anacortes water goes to the refineries. So it's time to ask the refineries to take a look at how do they recycle that water and reduce their need for water from the Anacortes allotment. That water will be needed for residential use for not only Anacortes, but its customers, Oak Harbor, the Navy base, LaConner, and of course us and me as a ratepayer. I don't want to pay extra and go without because the refineries are wasting it. And then we also share the air with the refineries. And there's two things there. One is the ships coming in. Some of those ships are probably not burning clean diesel. They're burning what they call bunker fuel. And some of that bunker fuel is not only nasty stuff, some of them have scrubbers, and that scrubbers take some of the sulfur and nasty stuff out, but they end up dumping it into the sound or out at sea. And I think all those ships that come in need to only burn clean diesel, and they only need to, only need to burn clean diesel, and then and the refinery shouldn't allow them to refuel with bunker fuel. We're not protecting Anacortes, either our water or our air, and the refineries is a big, big loophole. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Bud Anderson. I moved to Anacortes in 1969, and I've been a member of the community ever since, proud member of the community. And I really appreciate the group working this issue. I think it's long overdue, but it's great. So I want to make 4 brief points, my comments on the comp plan. Point number 1, hats off, many thanks to the state of Washington legislature as they face this issue that's been with us really for many, many years, and they finally stepped up to the plate and said, okay, we have to face this as a state, as a county, and as a city. And thank you for being part of the solution. Secondly, I want to thank the city of Anacortes. They stepped up to the plate, and I really mean it. They appeared to hire a competent consultant that produced a report that's readable, accurate, and detailed, except for one point, which is my third point today. So I like the report. It's easy to read. I can understand it. But there's the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room are the refineries. Now, the refineries are great. They served a purpose. They'll continue to serve a purpose in a different role as time passes. I worked at the Shell refinery for 44 years. I love the refineries. I love my work. But they have to change as well as the city has to change. So in the comp plan, everything's included that I can tell except for the refineries. By the way, that clock's turned and I can't see it, but I don't want to run over.
You've still got a minute and 15 seconds.
Oh, I better pick up the pace. So I just want to read this. I've issued a written statement, but I really want to make the point. The city and the county, from my point of view, from the meetings I've attended, are each ducking the responsibility to report on the refineries in the comp plan. Regardless of the false claims by both government bodies, it is not our responsibility. I'm sorry, but it is your responsibility. Step up and report the refinery data. If you choose not to, your report will lack credibility. There are 2 detailed reports that have been issued by the State of Washington Department of Congress that address this issue. Reference to Skagit County 2022 greenhouse gas emissions analysis and the February 25th, 2025 Western Washington University report on Washington State Refineries Economic Impact Study. Both are lengthy reports, very detailed, very accurate, and it'd be very simple to extract some of the data from that report and include it in your plan. When you do that, you'll list the refineries as emitting about 3 metric tons of CO2 per year. So please include that. Lastly, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, 9 seconds. How can we do a win-win? So if you can give me 10 seconds of overtime. I really thought of how can the city win? How can the people out here win? How can the refineries win? I don't have an answer, but I do have one step that can get us there that everybody can be enthusiastic about and support. So let's turn the clock back to the late 1800s. This was basically all forest. People moved here, I moved here, now we have a community. March Point was a forest. Pictures of before they built the refinery, it's a forest. There's hundreds of acres there that are basically wetlands and just open fields. My idea that I hope you can enthusiastically embrace is let's plant forests on the non-developed part of March's Point. We can do hundreds of acres. Let's have a 3 or 4 year plan, plant 50 acres a year, financed by the refineries. They're looking for solutions.
Mr. Anderson.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we've given you
Thank
extra
you.
time.
I respect that. Okay. Wouldn't you know that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm shrinking, so I have to stand up on tippy toes. I'm Andrea Dahl from Anacortes, and I'm here to second the motion on the concerns around March Point. And I have to say that this is a great opportunity for us to look at this. And it is the elephant in the room. And so I'm going to use a little bit of resource here, and I'm going to read a little paragraph. Other Washington jurisdictions, including Whatcom County, King County, Tacoma, and Vancouver, all enacted landmark legislation that prohibits new fossil fuel industries and establishes protective conditions for permitting existing refineries and terminals. March Point has no restrictions. We have not put, and the county has not put, restrictions on March Point. But this is the time now to do it. This is our opportunity. The Planning Commission, the City Council, and the community of Anacortes cannot talk about the impacts of economic growth without talking about and looking at the impacts of the growth of March Point and how it might change in the future. We don't know what it's going to do, but we know it'll have a tremendous impact. So industrial growth and its impact on climate change should be more thoroughly examined by the city and by you. Thank you.
Thank you.
1 minute, 38 seconds.
Anybody else? All right. Not seeing anyone else, I am going to close the public hearing. Actually, Mr. Stoneman is whispering in my ear to say thank you for the comments because they are excellent. And by the way, we do have, I don't know, half a dozen comments or so that were received after the packet came out, and several more that are in the packet. So we are taking all of those into consideration as well.
Chair Martin, and there have been even more that have come in that I did not have time to forward to the commission yet, but we will get those all sent over to you and up on our website, and part of the future information moving forward.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I was just going to close out by giving a quick update on the rest of our process moving forward for the overall comprehensive plan periodic update. I just wonder if I should check if there are any questions. Didn't seem like it, but for Katie, I wanted to let her go if you were done with her before I move on.
So as I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at your timeline.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
a second, sorry.
Sorry about that. Okay, yes.
I don't know what the rest of the commissioners think, but I feel like we haven't had time to digest all of the input. I think I have some more input, for example, in that section 8 CE 8 that we didn't really talk about. So it seems like we're going to need one more meeting is what I'm thinking. Sorry, commissioners, what do you think? Head nods and thumbs up.
Okay, so we could look at adding that to the agenda for May 14th would be the next meeting.
Sure. At least that way we'll feel like we've had the chance to really digest what the public, that's what we're here for, is to hear what the public has to say and see if that means we need to make some modifications.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay.
And so on that same agenda, we are also planning to have the initial introduction to the remaining 2 elements that we haven't discussed yet at the Planning Commission of the comprehensive plan. And those are the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space element and the economic development element. So we will have some draft goals and policy amendment proposals for each of those, aiming for May 14th. And then currently, the goal would be to have a public hearing on those goal and policy amendments for those elements on May 28th. Then we're going to be moving into summertime. Our goal is really to have that fully integrated and complete draft of the comprehensive plan out to the community in June sometime. And over the summer, you'll recall that we still have some work to do on the Housing Action Plan code amendments. And then there are also some development regulation amendments that were submitted with and docketed by the City Council that we'll need to work through. And also we will have our critical areas regulations update. We're working on those too. So the schedule past June is a little bit murky right now, but we're working through what that looks like with all of those moving parts. We'll keep you updated. And that's all I have this evening. If there aren't any questions.
Questions from the commission? No questions? Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Saunders. Okay. We are on item 6, which says other business. We don't have anything listed under other business. So item 7 is Planning Department update. Mr. Coleman.
Well, thank you for having the public hearing tonight, and thanks to everybody who came to speak and submit letters. We look forward to continuing the discussion, I guess, at the next Planning Commission meeting about the climate element, and I guess we'll continue with the environmental and conservation element also, because that was part of tonight's discussion. And so, since there weren't any, we didn't have any specific comments on that one, but I presume we'll bring that back too for additional discussion. Otherwise, there's not really much for the planning department to report. We were just here a couple of weeks ago, and nothing comes to mind that I wanted to or needed to update the planning commission on.
Any questions from the commissioners? Yeah, I had a question about, from the city council meeting, it talked about the number of permits were still down significantly. Is that still the case?
Yeah, the housing market's really, as I think so, I think some information was discussed about how nationwide and West Coast also is housing starts have been really down, and so it's a trend throughout the country. It's not just something that's acute to Anacortes or even Skagit County. It's nationwide housing starts is down, and it's largely, for the past several years at this point has been mostly interest rates are preventing people from being able to borrow money easily, and so it makes it harder to pencil out housing projects. And so the ones that started a while ago are finishing up, but it's been a slow number of new permits regionally as well as West Coast.
It's good to know that it's not just here. Okay, anything else? Nothing from the commissioners? And thank you for the update. And item number 8 is adjournment. And so this is going to be a record, 6:38. We are adjourned.